Hi, and thanks for joining me. I've covered the design of titles and lower thirds in previous videos, most of which were created using Title Pro 7. Recently, I've concentrated on using the Titles and Text plugin that comes with the Vegas Pro and Movie Studio Platinum. Obviously, this isn't as versatile as Title Pro, but with a little effort can produce some good results. I got to thinking, looking at the titles and lower thirds I'd created using Title Pro, how could something similar be achieved using Titles and Text, along with other plugins native to Vegas? For this series of videos, I'm not sure how many there'll be yet, I wanted to demonstrate how some of these Title Pro creations can be emulated. It has to be said though, creating these with titles and text is far more complex and time-consuming than using a dedicated titler such as Title Pro. If video production is your bread and butter, this isn't for you. But if you're a hobbyist with plenty of time on your hands, like me, and you don't have dedicated titling software, Titles and Text is a very reasonable alternative. Before I start the tutorial, I'd like to show you some of the titles and lower thirds I've designed. Most of these have been created using plugins that come with Vegas Pro and Movie Studio Platinum by default. Others can only be created using Vegas Pro because they use nesting and the masking facility included with the pan crop tool. On each of the examples, I'll indicate which version can be used. In this, the first episode of the series, I want to deal with the creation of the first lower third in the examples you've just seen. So, let's get started. The simplest lower third, of course, would be just a text string placed in the correct position, with the event faded in and out. However, to add quality to a lower third, it needs to be more than that. This first example is very simple, but at the same time quite effective. It consists of a narrow, semi-transparent strip that will be the text background. The strip will have a thin border whose colour will complement the background strip. There's no animation, and the intro and outro will be a simple fade. To save time, I've already worked out the various parameter values. I've already placed my video clip on the timeline, but I've muted the track so the video doesn't distract. First, I'll place a solid colour event above the clip. I'll choose green. For those who don't know this, if you drag the event just above the track event, a new track will be created for the event. Whoops, I had auto ripple on, we'll take that off. Now I will change the event length to 7 seconds, which is a reasonable duration for a lower third, and close the properties box. Look for the little notch, that's the loop point, and drag the event back to that. This will be my text background, so I'll just rename the track to suit. I've now got to use track motion to resize the event. This is the track motion icon. If that doesn't appear, or if that isn't there, click the hamburger menu, click Edit Visible Button Set, and put a check mark in track motion. I'll make sure the cursor is at the beginning of the controller timeline, and the height needs to be 110. The width needs to be 1120. And the Y position, that's the vertical position, needs to be -400. I'll close that properties box down. Now I need to place another colour event on the timeline. This is going to be my border, so I'll choose white. The event needs to be behind the text background, so I'll need to insert a video track below the text background. Resize that to 7 seconds. And I'll call this track border. I now need to resize this event using track motion. Now this one needs to be height 135. Width 1145, and the Y coordinate -400 again. Now as you can see, that's made a nice white border around the text background. Now I always like to make the background colour semi-transparent. It makes the lower third less harsh by allowing some of the video clip to show through. So I'll set the opacity of the text background event, which is this one. Set the opacity to 0.5. But as you can see, this doesn't work because it just allows the white to show through. Now I can get around this by applying a Bezier masking effect to the border event. The slightly tricky bit here is because the track frame has been scaled down, the mask can't be positioned as you would do normally. So I'll pick the Bezier masking effect. Pick mask 1, and I've worked out that the values should be the width of 0.976 and a height of 0.822. Now, as you can see, that just doesn't look right, but it is correct because of the reduction in scale using the track motion. I just have to do now one more thing, and that is to invert the mask. And I'll close that down. Now you can't see it, but that isn't showing through the white, it's showing through the black. Now the final part of the lower third, of course, is the descriptive text. So I'll place a titles and text event onto the track above the text background and change its length to 7 seconds. I now need to set the titles and text attributes to complement the background. I'll pick a font of Times New Roman and a size of 16, say. Change the colour to yellow. And I will give it an outline width of 4 and black. And drag this in position. Make this x coordinate 0.5 so it's in the middle. And close this down. I'll now select all these events and give them a fade. And move them into the middle of the clip event. And I'll just unmute the clip and we'll see what it looks like. As you can see, the text background is semi-transparent. Just one more thing to do. Put the correct text in here. Durdledore, a location in Dorset in southern England. Well worth a visit if you can make it. That concludes the first episode in this series. In the following episodes, I'll be demonstrating the creation of the more complex titles and lower thirds, shown at the beginning of this tutorial. In the process of creating these titles, I've learned that the Titles and Text plugin, when used in conjunction with other inbuilt features of Vegas, isn't such a slouch. There's a limit on what can be achieved though, but this limit is set fairly high. As always, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I welcome any comments you may have. Until the next time, bye for now.